being a shuso. Excuse me. Everything's lit?
Everything's lit? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about a queso?
Queso would be a great idea.
You can close that.
The green room.
The green room. Y'all ready? Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Showtime.
Showtime. Prajna Paramita.
Just so you know, like those 28 bows, I'll just...
Yeah.
So I told Yushin 3 gongs and then wait for your cue because we have to do all that
Yeah.
stuff first. And that the last of his bongs is as you get up to the
Yeah.
mat.
Perfect.
And do you do the pass after that bow?
No, before.
Before, okay.
Yeah.
I'll just mention that to him because he was not sure about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll go cue the 3 bongs.
Okay. Well, actually, you should have everybody ready because after those 3 bongs,
Well, then you have to go.
you guys start. Yeah.
Okay, so
There they go. You guys should get out there because you guys go right after.
I'm in between.
no ignorance and no end to ignorance, and so on to no old age and death, no anguish, no cause, no cessation, no path, no wisdom, and no attainment. Thing to attain, the Bodhisattva relies on prajna paramita with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, therefore no fear far beyond upside down views, and at last nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future live by prajna paramita, realizing complete true awakening. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the greatest mantra, the clearest mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra, which completely removes all. This is true, not false, therefore set forth the prajna paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim gate gate paragate samgate bodhisvaha. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, Mahaprajna paramita.
Jukai means receiving the sila,
We have gathered together for this ceremony as there is one among us who is ready to commit all that he has to realizing the wisdom of the Buddha with this very body given to him by his parents. He wishes to follow in the footsteps of sages and Buddhas who for centuries have walked the path of the Bodhisattva. This path is the way of boundless wisdom, the way of limitless compassion. And so, on this day, Sunday, June 1st, 2014, we humbly ask you, Kozen Eshu Osho, Abbot of Zen West, to act as his teacher and to guide him as he vows to manifest the way of Buddha and to live as a disciple of Buddha through Jukai.
I just want to start by welcoming everybody. That's hopefully as dry and formal as the ceremony will be today. Last night during the rehearsal, I was reminded that not everyone has been to a Zen Buddhist ceremony before. So there's a few things that I like to go over at the beginning of a Buddhist ceremony. Unlike many ceremonies that we can participate in our tradition, while we have a candidate who's taking the commitments fully on themselves, taking responsibility for those commitments fully themselves, we recognize in our tradition that this is something that in reality we just can't do. We don't live in a world independent of our relationships, of our family, of our environment. We rely on the support of our community and our friends and our family. It's very difficult to maintain any kind of a vow, even a vow to eat right or not to do something, if we're just on our own. So when we do this ceremony, we all chant together. The expectation isn't that you personally are taking responsibility for the vows that Ken here is taking on. But by chanting, we offer Ken our support, and we say we're going to do what we can to support him and to help him in maintaining and upholding the vows that he's taking today. Okay? Okay. So chanting, there's a lot of call and response in this ceremony. So the way that this works is that I'm going to chant a line, and all of the lines that you need to chant are also in the booklets that you have. I'm going to chant a line and ring the bell, and then everybody repeats the line and bows. If you're sitting seiza, it's a full prostration bow, so you're bowing with your head to the ground, your hands come palm up. And if you're sitting in a chair, or if you're physically limited in any way, you can just keep your hands in gasho and just make a deep bow from your waist. And then as you sit up, I'll start the next line and we continue. Yeah, hands in gasho, please. Vairochana Buddha, the pure Dharma Kaya. Bow. Lochana Buddha, the complete Sambhoga Kaya. Lochana Buddha, the complete Sambhoga Kaya. Shakyamuni Buddha, the myriad Nirmana Kaya. Maitreya Buddha, to be born in the future. Maitreya Buddha, to be born in the future. All Buddhas throughout space and time. All Buddhas Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of great wisdom.
Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of great wisdom.
Samantabhadra, the Bodhisattva of great activity. Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of great compassion.
Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of great compassion.
All venerable Bodhisattva Mahasattvas. Mahaprajna Paramita.
Mahaprajna Paramita.
Initiate, the essence of the heart-mind is as quiet as a calm lake, and the sea of Dharma is deeper than the depths of all the oceans. Those who are misguided will wander in darkness, and those who awaken will realize true liberation. This liberation is the way to embody the heart of the Buddha. After you have accepted this teaching, you should maintain unwavering confidence in it, and you should not be tempted to doubt it. For this reason, successive ancestors have made these commitments. The gift of these commitments is to be able to realize the heart of the Buddha with this very body that was given to you by your parents. Through this ceremony, even though you do not yet embody the complete manifestation of the true Buddha, you will become a true disciple of Buddha. Now, as we begin the ceremony, I ask you to please leave your seat and make a bow of deepest gratitude for the kindnesses showered upon you by your parents, by your family, and by all other beings that have enabled you to reach maturity, who have and will support your practice in the past, present, and future. Please realize that you will be assisted by these kindnesses throughout your long practice of the way. Three times. You owe these people a lot of thanks. Good. All right. You have taken up the path of the Bodhisattva and have asked to receive the Sila. You have fulfilled all of the requirements, and I have found you ready to receive Jukai. This ceremony is a big one for me because it includes all all aspects of acknowledgement that I can even do. So we have Ken here coming for Jukai. And on the other end of things, this is also a ceremony to acknowledge two of our priests who are both coming to passages in this ceremony. The first one that I want to speak about is the Reverend Doshu, who has been a priest now for 5 years, serving as a novice for 3, and then a junior priest for 2. So Reverend Doshu today is becoming a priest, a Zenwest priest. This is not an Osho. This is a Zenwest priest. What this means is that Doshu will be authorized to do such things as weddings and funerals, to function in every way as a priest under the auspices of Zenwest. One of the great things, I think, in our tradition about these kinds of ceremonies is that they are rites of passage. And I always like to look at them as I have this opportunity in this position of abbot to speak with the voice of the community. The authority that I carry is the authority of the community. So these recognitions, taking the vows of Jukai, becoming a priest, they're not something that we start now and then go forward from here, but rather you've carried that weight. You've demonstrated your practice and your commitment to the vows of Jukai and to the vows of being a priest, to the point where all I have to do up here is look around at the community and say, "Isn't it so?" This is where everyone says, "Yes!" Yeah! Because this is really what this ceremony is an affirmation of our community, of the vows and commitments that we have made, the responsibilities that we've taken on. There's another recognition that's coming up later in the ceremony, and I'll talk more about that later because we want to give that one a little bit more time. For now, suffice to say that Doshu, after many years of practice and 5 years as a priest, finally gets to have some color. So, now for both of you, Doshu, if you'll take Ken and show him how to get into these crazy robes. I'll say, no longer picking and choosing. Please accept these robes, which are the symbol of your commitment and responsibility as a disciple of the Buddha.
This robe has
no form. It is the symbol
of absolute freedom from life and from death. It cannot be compared to anything, nor can anything be compared to it. I now receive it gratefully. May it be worn forever, from generation to generation.
Life prolonging Kanzeon to
Kanzeon, praise to Buddha, all are one with Buddha, all awake to Buddha. Dharma Sangha, eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arise from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha, all are one. Buddha, all awake to Buddha, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, eternal, joyous, selfless, through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises from mind. This moment itself itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. Wake to Buddha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment rises from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Eternal, joyous, selfless, through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Eternal, joyous, selfless, the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Dharma, Sangha, eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, praise to Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Dharma, Sangha, eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment rises from mind. This moment itself is mind. Kanzeon, all Buddha. All are one with Buddha. All awake to Buddha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, eternal, joyous, selfless, pure through the day. Kanzeon, through the night. Kanzeon, this moment arises from mind. This moment itself is mind. If you wish to learn the way of Buddha Dharma, first of all you have to accept responsibility for your life and your mistakes and vow to begin anew. You must then take refuge in the three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Following that, you must receive the 5 sila. Let us begin with purification. Together with the whole Sangha, please recite the verse of purification, resolving to manifest your true nature. Purification. In the past, I have caused much harm. My greed, anger, and folly arise from the beginningless past, yet they spring from this body, this mouth, and this mind. I alone am responsible for the suffering they have brought, and I hereby renounce and relinquish them all. Following your teacher, you will now take the threefold refuge. This is the same as before, where I chant a line and everybody repeats it and then bows. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Buddha, the incomparable one.
I take refuge in the Buddha, the incomparable one.
I take refuge in the Dharma, honorable for its purity.
I take refuge in the Dharma, honorable for its purity.
I take refuge in the Sangha, honorable for its harmonious life.
I take refuge in the the Sangha, honorable for its harmonious life.
I have completely taken refuge in the Buddha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Buddha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Dharma.
I have completely taken refuge in the Dharma.
I have completely taken refuge in the Sangha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Buddha, the incomparable one.
I take refuge in the Buddha, the incomparable one.
I take refuge in the Dharma, honorable for its purity.
I take refuge in the Dharma, honorable for its purity.
I take refuge in the Sangha, honorable for its harmonious life.
I take refuge in the Sangha, honorable for its harmonious life.
I have completely taken refuge in the Buddha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Buddha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Dharma.
I have completely taken refuge in the Dharma.
I have completely taken refuge in the Sangha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Buddha, the incomparable one.
I take refuge in the Buddha, the incomparable one.
I take refuge in the Dharma, honorable for its purity.
I take refuge in the Dharma, honorable for its purity.
I take refuge in the Sangha, honorable for its harmonious life.
I take refuge in the Sangha, honorable for its harmonious life.
I have completely taken refuge in the Buddha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Buddha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Dharma.
I have completely taken refuge in the Dharma.
I have completely taken refuge in the Sangha.
I have completely taken refuge in the Sangha.
Buddha itself is the truth and true realization.
Buddha itself is the truth and true realization.
This present self takes refuge in the Buddha.
This present self takes refuge in the Buddha.
From now and into the endless future, I will make Buddha my teacher.
From now and into the endless future, I will make Buddha my teacher.
I will refrain from following deluded teachings.
I will refrain from following deluded teachings.
How wonderful the teaching of compassion!
How wonderful the teaching of compassion.
How wonderful the teaching of compassion!
How wonderful the teaching of compassion.
How wonderful the great teaching of compassion!
How wonderful the great teaching of compassion.
I always feel some obligation to explain or to give some words on the last passage that we chanted. It's complex. Because I think for most people, when we come to practice in a spiritual tradition, there is some aspect of, obedience or something that gets brought up. And this passage, for me, I'm kind of sensitive to that stuff, so it kind of smacks of that a little bit. But I want to talk about how to go about engaging in practice. One of the most important things to understand is that the Buddha that we most seriously have to take our refuge in is not the one in the past, and it's not the one on the Butsudan, it's the one in our own hearts. And it's not the Dharma that's written down in books, and it's not the Dharma that comes out of my mouth, it's the Dharma that is exposed and reveals itself in the activity of this cosmos every day. So when we have this vow, from now and into the endless future, I will make Buddha my teacher, it is the wisdom, our own innate realization and awakening, which we must take as our teacher. It's revealing itself to us all the time. When it says, I will refrain from following deluded teachings, this doesn't mean that I'm going to become rigidly, I am a Buddhist, I'm a Zenwest Buddhist, and all of those other Buddhists are bad and all those Christians are deluded. It's that which is disharmonious with your understanding of the Dharma. The Dharma is your home. So even if that deluded teaching comes out of this mouth, or out of your own mouth, your vow is to not follow deluded teachings. You've got to stand up and you've got to manifest the Buddha wisdom. Okay? Everybody got that? Okay. Good. Now we'll talk about the Sila. The Sila are difficult to fathom. In being led out of everyday confusion through the long process of maturation, you will experience the true heart of the Sila. The true heart of the Sila is the realization that all things in this vast universe are nothing other than your true self. Without this experience, the sila are impossible to follow. That's true. The sila are guidelines that were offered by the Buddha and by all of our ancestors to help us follow the Dharma activity. Our practice is to awaken to the Dharma activity as it unfolds in front of us so that we don't have to constantly be checking a list, so that when a spontaneous circumstance arises, we can respond to it spontaneously and lively, but in harmony with the Dharma. The sila, however, that's difficult to do. Right? It's difficult to be on all the time. And the sila offer themselves as kind of a guideline, a help, so that when we're distracted, when we're unsure, we can go back and touch base with the sila, reflect on the way that the sila are expressed, and make our actions arise out of that. That's what it says here. I'll read the script. The way to manifest the sila is to manifest the wisdom that knows pratitya samutpada. Pratitya samutpada, this means interdependent origination. We are one. We arise together with all things in this vast cosmos. We interact with all things together in this vast cosmos. Interdependent co-origination. This is the activity of the Dharma. The Dharma gives birth to a child, and that child is the 5 sila. When we are able to freely follow the Dharma, we will freely follow the sila. Until we learn to freely follow the Dharma, these sila will act as a light upon a dark sea. With all of our will, we must endeavor to follow them. These sila have been passed from generation to generation until now, in the 84th generation, I give them to you. Are you ready? Everybody please, hands in gasho. This is an opportunity for those of you who have received the sila before. It's an opportunity for you as well to reaffirm your commitment by just responding yes along with Ken, who's receiving them for the first time. The first sila is affirm life, do not kill. In the Dharmakaya, there is no killing or not killing, no one to kill and nothing to be killed. Fully realizing this in the human world gives rise to the mind of compassion. You must embody the mind of compassion. This sila is very difficult to follow. Do you vow to follow it with all of your will?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. The second sila is be giving, do not steal. In the Dharmakaya, there is no stealing or not stealing. There's no one to take and nothing to be taken. Fully realizing this in the human world gives rise to the mind of spotless integrity. You must embody the mind of spotless integrity. This sila is very difficult to follow. Do you vow to follow it with all of your will?
Yes.
The third sila is honor the body. Do not misuse sexuality. In the Dharmakaya, there is no keeping faithful or not keeping faithful. There is no one to crave and nothing to be desired. Fully realizing this in the human world gives rise to the mind of virtue. You must embody the mind of virtue. This sila is very difficult to follow. Do you vow to follow it with all of your will?
Yes.
The fourth sila is manifest truth. Do not lie. In the Dharmakaya, there is no lying or not lying. There is no one to be deceptive, and there's no one to deceive. Fully realizing this in the human world gives rise to the mind of perfect trust. You must embody the mind of perfect trust. This sila is very difficult to follow. Do you vow to follow it with all of your will?
Yes.
The fifth sila is, proceed clearly, do not cloud the mind. In the Dharmakaya there is no intoxication nor sobriety. There's no one to fool, and there's nothing to be deluded about. Fully realizing this in the human world gives rise to the mind of perfect clarity. You must embody the mind of perfect clarity. This sila is very difficult to follow. Do you vow to follow it with all of your will?
Yes.
Good. Now you have received the 5 sila. You have become Buddha's disciple. But beyond that, as a disciple of the Mahayana, you must study the 3 fundamental sila. A person who can keep these 3 is a true Mahayana disciple. I, on behalf of Buddha, give them to you. These are a matter of practice, and we have to investigate them deeply throughout a lifetime of practice to really grasp them. The first is, abstain from creating discord. Manifest absolute self as the Dharma activity without attachment to your personal self. The second is to actualize harmony, manifesting no self as the Dharma activity without attachment to your absolute self. The third is to clarify the mind and be of benefit to all beings. You must manifest the interplay of absolute self and no self as the Dharma activity together with all beings. Do you vow to keep these 3 sila?
Yes.
Great. As a disciple, okay, let's relax here. As a disciple of the Buddha, you will have a Buddhist name, which is a symbol that you have been born into the realm of the Bodhisattva. You must accept responsibility for your name and new identity, which is in fact your true identity. So this is where I just love this part. But I have to say it's been kind of unfun this time around, because I feel like I've known your Dharma name since I first met you. So when Ken first came to the Zenwest, I was at home at the temple, but I was playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons with a group of kids. And when I would do this, I would sort of like set up boundaries around the Zen Center so that I wouldn't be disturbed in this, what I considered an important way of connecting with my kids and the other kids in the group. And so my wife Nikki was down in the yard with one of the parents of the other kids, and this car pulled up, and this man got out and he said, "I'm a big Zenwest fan, and I've got all the podcasts. I'm from Vancouver, and I'm visiting my mom, and I'm here to work on the garden. Where's the garden?" And Nikki said, "Well, we don't really have a garden." And so he hung around, and Nikki came in and said, "Whew, there was a live one here today." And I thought, oh, well, those hot ones, they usually burn off pretty quick. They don't hang around for long. And then, I think it was the next Tuesday, I got to meet this firebrand. And he, right from the beginning, after the first sit, he was like, "I'm ready to sign up. I'm ready, sign my name on the dotted line." And he spoke about the sort of samurai spirit that had guided him to come to Zen practice. And I see that we've got, do you have a name for your samurai friend?
Bontero-san.
Bontero-san. Okay. So this is, I think, his guardian spirit that's helped him find his way to practice. So, Ken has come to practice kind of late in life. But boy, I think anyone who practices with him or talks to him or knows him, he's putting everything he's got into engaging with this community and with this practice. And I think it's very humbling, and it's a great honor and service to us all to have him as a part of our community. So the name that I chose, I also really wanted, because I know how much you care for your family, and I know how much you care for tradition. So one of the things that I found interesting was I wanted to have Ken be a part of your Dharma name. And there's a couple of reasons. One is that Ken it's a great word. It means wisdom in Japanese. It can also mean sword in Japanese, which I thought is a great thing for your samurai spirit. So the name that I chose is Kendo, which means the Ken that I selected means wisdom, and the Do means work or activity. So wisdom activity is the Dharma name that I give you. So everyone make a bow for Kendo. Yeah, that's right. Kendo, yeah. Yeah. What's that?
Buzzard-san.
Buzzard-san. Oh, yeah, okay. So, initiate your commitment ceremony is finished. Your Jukai ceremony is finished. From now on, you should appear in society with your mind radiantly clear and with your body utterly pure like a lotus flower. In so doing, you will serve as an example for all Dharma disciples to follow. Okay? So, the next part of the ceremony. This next part is called Shuso Hosen. The Shuso means chief junior. And so we have Reverend Soshin, who has been a novice for 3 years and has been serving as the chaplain here, the Buddhist chaplain at UVic, and has been maintaining our community's relationship with the university and our ability to come here and do ceremonies like this. More than that, I keep... it's hard to know where to begin with Soshin. Soshin can be a tiger. And growing up as I have, I need a tiger to press up against, to challenge me. Soshin is a very strong woman and stands for all women. And whenever I say stupid things, which I do say, I'm the youngest child and the only son in my family, the golden boy. And so this is I'm also a 6'4" white man. So I come from the golden heights of privilege. And I say tremendously stupid things a lot of the time. And I've been blessed to have Soshin in our community who will come into the interview room and say, "That was a stupid thing to say!" And I say, "Thank you." But Soshin's character is one of immense, she has this quiet forcefulness. If there's a person in the community that has the capacity to frighten me, it's Soshin sometimes. Yeah? But she also has a wonderful resilience and courage. She often points out corners and tries to provide opportunities for women to succeed and to progress in our community and elsewhere. Now, it's a funny thing with her as well, because she'll fight for women to have a place, for women to have a voice, but sometimes she doesn't want it to be her. Unfortunately, she also is willing to step forward when the call is made. She has an amazing ability to simultaneously hold that totally scares me to death, but I'll do it. Over and over again, I throw things at her and say, I want you to do this. And she says, oh my God, I really don't want to do that, but I will. And this is something that is a tremendous gift to all of us in our community. Her name makes her a leader and a representative, even though it's a mantle she doesn't want. She accepts it and goes forward with it. So that's the Shuso part, is becoming a junior priest. The Hosen part means combat, Dharma combat. So this is an opportunity for Soshin to give her first Dharma talk, after which there's an opportunity for questions and responses from Soshin. So the audience gets to ask questions about the talk that she's given, and she will respond. So, ready? As ready as you're going to be? Yeah? Okay.
My mouth is dry, my palms are sweaty, my knees are gone. Anyway, so here we are. So I'd like to just take a few minutes to kind of settle in. This has been my practice for 2 weeks now of practicing with fear. So I get to, as well as anxiety attacks at night and things like that. Now, I'd really like a moment just to practice with fear, facing all of you wonderful people. I have no idea why it's so terrifying. When I look at you, I just think, wow, you look great and you're radiant, and what's the big deal? So I'm just going to take a minute here to breathe, and you can all breathe too. So I have brought notes. I think I'll start with this is a koan that is what eventually brought me to practice. I heard it from my brother when I was a teenager, and I may have talked to you about it before, but here it is. Ryokan, the moon cannot be stolen. Ryokan, a Zen master, lived the simplest kind of life in a little hut at the foot of a mountain. One evening, a thief visited the hut, only to discover there was nothing in it to steal. Ryokan returned and caught him. You may have come a long way to visit me, he told the prowler, and you should not return empty-handed. Please take my clothes as a gift. The thief was bewildered. He took the clothes and slunk away. Ryokan sat naked, watching the moon. Poor fellow, he mused. I wish I could give him this beautiful moon. So this was a seed that was planted, 50 years ago. Just the beauty of being this Zen master, this monk, living the life of a hermit, and being so absolutely clear who he was and being so settled in his own skin. I could not believe it as a teenager. Growing up in the 50s and 60s, this was completely unheard of. I'd never run into anyone like this before, and it stuck with me. And so, it just worked its magic, worked away at me, and then eventually, things happen, and we end up in Victoria, and Doshu and I find Eshu as a teacher, and after my practice kind of lagging for being non-existent for 35 years or so, it's kind of heated up a bit, and it's taken me in directions that I couldn't have known. The thing about this after so long, just seeing it again, I really noticed that my young mind bumped up against this monk, and he was like completely perfect and flat and yes, exciting, but there was no, I couldn't get a grasp on him. And so looking at this story now, I'm drawn to just put in a little color, like, who is this monk? So who is the thief? And where does this thief come from? And like, who tries to rob a monk living in a shack or a shed or whatever? It just seems really odd and interesting to me now. And so the way I practice is I just sort of jump into the story and start messing with it. And so the monk is actually transgendered and has been dealing with the fact that he's grown up in a culture that cannot accept him yet. And the thief turns out to be a woman. I'd say she's sort of mid-30s. She's white. She comes from privilege, and she is completely, apparently, embroiled in the surface, the thingness, the attachment to things in this world. And yet there's something that's drawing her away from that. And so in her long walks and just meditations about how yucky her life is, even though she has everything, she ends up at this hut. And she's confronted with someone who is her polar opposite and treats her with complete love and compassion. I don't think she'll ever be the same. I think that even though she's labeled a thief and she slinks away, that she's just been transformed by being in the presence of someone who knows who they are, radically knows that they are okay, that she is okay, that we're actually not separate, we're one. And this is the teaching of the Buddha that I've had to return to again and again in the course of dealing with my fear about this moment, is that really we are, the Buddha, this is the one thing I take on faith. Actually, this is a practice of investigation and checking out for yourself. But the one thing I do take on faith is that we are already awake and we just don't know it. We don't realize it. And that we are perfect. And so when I'm asked to sit here and speak to you, I'm confronted with, oh my God, I am so not ready. I'm so not the monk in this story. How could I possibly have anything to say? And yet, in the practice is to be with the fear and to actually feel it, not just deny it. To be with that just gut-wrenching scattering of my brain for the last 2 weeks, and grapple with this idea that actually this moment is perfect, and that I am good enough, and that I am okay. And at times I found that I could, just by following certain thoughts, like where is the joy, is a really key one for me. Just slip out of the fear and into, wow, this is a really cool moment. This is such a beautiful thing to be able to, first of all, practice with the fear, and secondly, to be able to share with everyone here. I mean, you're just such an awesome community. So, just having a light shone on that place in me that goes, wow, I'm not okay, but there's a possibility that I might be. And so that brings me to another reading that really caught my eye, and it's from Hakuin Song of Zazen. This is something we chant, weekly. And the part that I really like is, how near the truth, yet how far we seek. Like water, one in water crying, I'm thirsty. Like the son of a rich man, wandering poor on this earth, we endlessly circle the six worlds. And I see that thief, this beautiful woman who's so tied up in her life of seeking pleasure, and see how, the truth is right there. The truth is right there in the monk. It's symbolized, well, we don't have to get into head stuff, but in the moon. Like water, one in water crying, I'm thirsty. It's just like so, I'm so right there. At times being overwhelmed with, I'm beating this whole fear thing to death, but being overwhelmed with the fear, and then at other times just being lifted out of it. So, just that, it's so close. We don't have to go far. We don't really have to search. And the third piece that I would like to end with is, it was just sent to Doshu and I by a friend, and it goes like this. And it's also from Hakuin's teachings. Once a person is able to achieve true single-mindedness in their practice and smash apart the old nest into which they have settled, great wisdom immediately appears, and the all-discerning fivefold eye opens wide. And the part that really grabs me in this is the smashing apart of the old nest, because that's what our practice is to just go for it. So I'm holding that image of us all going forward and smashing apart our comfortable old nest, and then being open to what's next. So I think that's all I have to say about this. Now's the time for questions and responses. If anyone has a question.
No more fear.
No more fear? Are you asking me?
You've done with it now, right?
I don't think I'm done with fear. But I think I'm going to be able to sleep better now. Narma.
Is it a daily reaffirming thing that you do every morning when you get up? Is it a daily reaffirming, I'm smashing the old and I'm going forward to the new?
No, actually not, but that's a great idea. Yeah, daily meditation for sure. And I think for me it's rather than, it could be used as an affirmation, but it's in moment to moment in my life. So many times in the past year or so, I've come to a place where I'm going, this is all new. Doshu and I used to fight in a certain way, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared, and we're walking into a whole new way of relating. I think I'm sort of picking on you. Is that okay? And so there's that sense of breaking out of old habit patterns, breaking out of just concepts, and trying to walk gracefully and fearlessly forward into new things, like a new way of relating to someone I love dearly. So that's just one example of it seems to come up again and again during the day.
So it's like an ongoing with your practice, you're watching these subtle changes just happen naturally.
Yes.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Oh, yeah, okay.
what we're doing here a religion? Sorry.
Well, I'm a scientist, so no. But ask someone else. Yeah.
Then, as a scientist, are you taking? You're saying you even said you're taking leaps of faith.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrestle with that continually as a scientist, and I feel at the core as a scientist, and somehow this practice has brought a certain level of something that is good for me. Yet I still wrestle with you as a monk now, and as someone who's practicing what I would consider considerably more strongly than I am. Is that a leap of faith? Is that a leap of work and science? And science is maybe a bad word because I'm using it as a bias because I'm biased towards the word. But you know what I'm saying?
Maybe. Yeah. Well, I think just taking the next breath is a leap of faith. If you're, I mean, we have all these habits that are based on very little. I mean, just because there's been air around for a while doesn't mean it's always going to be there to breathe. So I get the paradox that you're talking about, but I'm happy holding it. I don't know if that helps.
Yes.
Do you?
Rosemary and I have known you for many, many, many years, over half a lifetime, and you are a miracle to me that you are doing this practice and you are carrying it forward so strongly. Because I've always known you as a very powerful skeptic. How do you reconcile being a skeptic, or have you let go of being a skeptic?
No, because it really fits in with the mindset of checking things out for yourself and relying on yourself and being independent. I could not, maybe I could now, but to start with, I couldn't have just followed someone. I have to be able to have the freedom to think for myself and to feel for myself and to integrate those two things. So, and I've done a lot in my life in terms of being spiritual but not religious. I was in a group in Sointula that we just explored all sorts of different religions and ways of being spiritual, and that was fine, that was good. I learned a lot, but this really works for me because there's no mumbo jumbo. I mean, it seems like it because we're just going to feel a lot. There's words we don't know, there's maybe no meaning, but it's not the kind of mumbo jumbo I'm talking about. Oh, that was probably totally politically incorrect. Yes, Rosemary.
I just find myself so emotional. Seeing you sit there because I have known you in such a loving way for 32 years. And that's what I was thinking of when I see you, is that I know you have explored so much through your life. I've shared a lot with you, and you've shared a lot with me about that. And for me, seeing you here, you have taught me so much. Just seeing you here, and whether you call it a leap of faith or what, I see the surrender. And that comes with wisdom and knowledge that you've gained over the years. And I just feel so much respect and love for you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say something because I've known you long. And
how can you go past that? Everyone, please make a great reverential bow to Shakyamuni Buddha, the world-honored one. All beings without number, I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to uproot dharma gates beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of Buddha. I vow to attain all beings without number. I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to